Abraham Cowley was living just after Shakespeare's time, so maybe our study of Shakespeare helps us read this poem a little bit, since we're still in that mindset. It's called The Thief. Now, I didn't read it for you on Friday because you have to be able to, read it without the, auditory. But I'll read it today. The Thief. Thou robb'st my days of business and delights, of sleep thou robb'st my nights. Ah, lovely thief, what wilt thou do? What, rob me of heaven too? Thou even my prayers dost steal from me, and I with wild idolatry begin to God and end them all to thee. Is it a sin to love that it should thus, like an ill conscience, torture us? Whatever I do, wherever I go, none guiltless ever was haunted so. Still, methinks thy face I view, and still thy shape does me pursue, as if not you, me, but I had murdered you. From books I strive some remedy to take, but thy name all the letters make. Whatever 'tis writ, I find that there, like points and commas everywhere. Be blessed for this, let no man hold, for I, as Midas did of old, perish by turning everything to gold. What do I seek, alas, or why do I attempt in vain from thee to fly? For making thee my deity, I gave thee then ubiquity. My pains resemble hell in this, the divine presence there too is, but to torment men, not to give them bliss. You feel sorry for this guy? Anybody? Nobody? You're all like, maybe. I feel sorry for him. All right, so one of the things that the AP exam will do is oftentimes they will give you a question like number 1 early in the question sequence that helps you to put a perspective on the poem like right away. So that's a nice thing. If you pay attention, then you'll see that happening. So they know that you don't have time to delve into the poem and really work it up. Maybe you've read it through once, kind of basic way. Maybe you read it twice at the most, but you don't have time to really develop it. So they're going to ask you a question to make you think about the poem in a way that helps you understand some basics about it, like question 1. The thief in the poem is the speaker's A, death, B, age, C, conscience, D, beloved, or E, anxiety. Well, if you get that right, the answer is D, that the thief is the person that he loves and loves him back, then that kind of helps you answer the rest of the questions and put the poem in perspective. If you answer it wrong, you're kind of screwed. But if you answer it right, then you can kind of start to develop your analysis as you're answering the questions. I don't know if that happened to you, but that's their purpose. How do I know that D is correct on number 1? What are some clues in the poem that help me realize that? Is it a sin to love, right? I can tell he's talking about love there. What else? What's another tip off?
Thy name all the letters.
Thy name all the letters make. Mm-hmm. Line 16. For me, it's line 3. Lovely thief. Well, that's kind of an oxymoron. If somebody stole your stuff, you wouldn't really call them lovely, right? So lovely thief suggests that, the thief part is playful. Also, the quotation marks here on the answer, on the question stem, kind of suggest that too. Those, quotes around something that we're taking sort of offhanded. So if the thief is his beloved, what has she stolen? His heart, his love, right? She's stolen a lot of other stuff from him, and he's sort of playfully saying, she stole my whole life because I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't concentrate, I can't read, I can't pray, I can't do any of these things because I just keep thinking about her, right? So it's a playful kind of play on the thief idea. All right, number 2. According to the speaker, the thief in the poem does all the following excepts. So on these excepts, you have to do your elimination. Does the thief disrupt his concentration? Yeah, multiple times in stanzas 1 through 3. Does she deprive him of rest? Yes, line 2. Does she jeopardize his salvation? Yes, where?
Even my prayers.
He tries to start praying to God, he says, right? Even my prayers thou steals from me. I start to pray to God and end praying to you. Yeah. Well, God doesn't like that. You're not supposed to pray to another person. So I'm going to say stanza 1. Does she plague his conscience? Yes. Does she make him ponder suicide? No. He doesn't get to the point where he says, I might as well just end it all. Bless you. He's tortured, but he's not suicidal. Number 3, the primary dilemma confronting the speaker is his A, considerable loss of income. There isn't anything about that in the poem, so I can eliminate that. B, deleterious attraction to his beloved. Now, this is where vocabulary starts to play, because if I don't know what deleterious or precipitous means, I'm kind of scratching my head about whether I should choose that answer choice. Deleterious means harmful. Is his attraction to his beloved harmful? Yeah, he can't sleep, he can't study, he can't pray. He's jeopardizing a lot of stuff, because B is the answer here. But it was kind of risky unless you knew the definition of deleterious. I'm going to go ahead and put definitions because maybe some of them will stick for the test or whatever. Precipitous means dangerous. Is he having a dangerous decline in health? Not really. Except his mental health, maybe. Easy distraction from his studies. That does happen, but is that his primary dilemma? No, that's a side effect. So is his misdirected faith. If you chose D or E, you were almost there. The question stem says primary dilemma, and D and E are side effects of his primary dilemma. 4, the speaker questions all the following except. Does the speaker question his thief's designs on his soul? Yes, line 4. Are you trying to rob me of heaven? Like his soul going to heaven. The thief's mental cruelty. Where is the thief cruel? Okay, just the general idea that he can't do anything without her thinking about her. And he kind of says that she's doing it on purpose because you get this idea that she's torturing him, right? Ultimately, he gave his heart away. Like, he opened himself up for it, but now he's kind of like, love is messing me up. Torture. So, like, line 9. His own level of culpability. Well, culpability means responsibility. Does he question his level of responsibility? Yeah. Especially down here. He says, why do I attempt in vain from thee to fly? Why do I even try to get away from you when I know it's not going to work? So the answer is C for number 4. Does he try to find a solution in books? Yes. Does he think that it's wise to try to get away from her? Yes, it's just that it doesn't work. Number 5. Okay, this has some terminology, but I bet that you could get it right anyway with elimination. In the second stanza, the speaker emphasizes the extent of his torment through all the following except. Well, probably the one you don't know is metonymy. But in the second stanza, do I have a simile? Yes. Like an ill conscience.
Mr. Ramos, for number 4, wasn't it accept?
Hmm?
Like, I thought we said, like, C was, like, yeah.
Right, he doesn't accept his own level of responsibility.
And then it says the speaker questions all of the following except.
Right. Does he accept his own responsibility?
Oh.
He's blaming her, isn't he?
Okay.
Yeah. He's not saying that it's his fault for giving up his heart. He's saying it's her fault for being like stealing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 5, in the second stanza, the speaker emphasizes, okay, so simile we can eliminate. Repetition, do we have that in stanza 2? Still, still, still. Now, parenthetical comment sounds fancy, but it's really just something in parentheses. Do I have something in parentheses? Yes, line 11. Do I have irony? Is there any irony here? In the last 2 lines. And still thy shape does me pursue. You're still following me around, like the ghost of you is still here, following me around, as if not you me, but I had murdered you. So it's like you're haunting me, as if the roles were reversed. So there's irony there. So you could eliminate all of those. The answer is metonymy. But maybe you know what that means, and maybe you just guessed it because of elimination. So let's define it. Maybe instead of on this page, you want to define it in your folder so that you can study it later. Metonymy does sometimes show up on the exam. Metonymy is when we have something closely related as a stand-in. A good example is when we say, like, the pen is mightier than the sword. We don't mean that literally. If you take a pen to a sword fight, you are probably going to lose. What we mean when we say the pen is mightier than the sword is that sometimes the written word, which is replaced by a stand-in, the pen, because you use a pen to make the written word, is sometimes stronger than the sword, which is standing in for aggression, right? Battle. So there's 2 examples of metonymy in that example. The pen is standing in for written word. Mightier than the sword is standing in for, like, aggression. Sometimes the written word is more powerful than aggression. So that's metonymy, which does not happen in the passage, and that's why that's the right answer. So I think you could have gotten that if you eliminated, even if you didn't know the definition for metonymy. This little AP loophole. Number 6, lines 10 through 14 and 15 through 18 are primarily intended to bring out what aspect of the thief's nature. Well, I have to go back to 10 through 14, right? Here, and then 15 here. This is where our vocabulary comes in. Her omnipresence, omni meaning all. We had that in our root words. All presence. Is that evident in those lines? Yes. She's everywhere, right? Everywhere he turns, there she is. Omnipresent. Omni actually helps you get 2 questions right in this section, because there's another one on number 8. Stealth means like sneakiness. Ruthlessness, I think you know what that is. Her illiteracy is a really bad answer. That's a total misreading of the thing. He does talk about books, but he's not talking about her being illiterate. He's talking about how he can't concentrate when he's reading books because all the words turn into her name. It's kind of romantic when you think about it. Her desperation, I don't think she's desperate. I think he might be desperate because he feels so, like, enslaved by her. Number 7, the speaker's allusion to Midas. Now, if you know the allusion to Midas, then it's an easier answer. But if you don't know the allusion, it's a little tougher. Midas was a king, and what did he wish for? Well, it's a myth. It's not real. That everything that he touched would turn to gold so that he could increase his wealth. And he got what he wished for, but he was foolish in that wish because everything he touched literally turned to gold. And if he touches himself, or his puppy, or his child, or his food, what happens? It turns to gold. So he ends up condemning himself based on his greed, right? So the speaker's allusion to Midas on 10 through 20 through 21, for I, as Midas did of gold, that's a simile, perish by turning everything to gold. Why is he comparing himself to Midas? Because he wanted love and he got, like, more than he could handle, and now he's hopelessly in love with her to his own detriment. So the best answer here is C, myopic foolhardiness. Myopic means short-sighted, like unable to see. Hubris means like pride. We talk about hubris with Claudius sometimes. Claudius' pride ends up condemning him and many other people. You guys with me over there? Fern? Are you making notes? Mental notes? Okay.
Oh.
Myopic means to be like nearsighted. Part of the process of going through this isn't just to give you the answers, but also to help you think like the test, right? I know that it seems like it takes a while for me to go through it, but the more we do, the more natural it will seem to you to answer the questions. And we're about to do a prose one in a minute, so, or 10. The word ubiquity, as it is used in line 25, is best interpreted as. So you can either know the meaning of ubiquity, or you can go to the context and try to figure out what it means. If I go to line 25, it's right after he says, for making thee my deity. A deity is a god. So he's saying, I've turned you into my goddess, because up here he ended up praying to her, right? She's turned into his idol. I gave thee then ubiquity. I gave you something because I turned you into my goddess. Omnipotence, what would that mean? All power. Did he give that to her? By calling her his God? Yeah. Adulation is just like admiration. Guerdon is probably a new word. Guerdon, it means like a reward. Did he give her a reward? No, he didn't give her a reward. Did he give her fealty? Fealty is loyalty. He may have, but the poem doesn't say that. What about satisfaction? Did he give her any satisfaction? Not that we know of. So the best answer is omnipotence, and omni helped us twice there. Number 9, in which of the following lines does the speaker offer the strongest admonition to the reader? Admonition is a warning. This kind of question is hard because if you don't know what an admonition is, it's hard to answer that question. Where do we get the warning? Line 5, 8 through 9, 19, 22 to 23, or line 26? What do you think? You're right, line 19. On line 19, he says, me blessed for this, let no man hold. I hope nobody else gets this same blessing of love. Like, I wouldn't wish this on anyone else, kind of thing. This much love. Maybe that's why we can't feel sorry for him, right? Oh, wow, really? Some girl loves you a whole lot and you can't stop thinking about her. That's terrible. Number 10, all the following may be considered highly ironic except A, the initial direction of the speaker's prayers and the ultimate recipient of these appeals. Is that ironic that he starts praying to God and ends up praying to her? Because she's his new goddess, right? So that's ironic. Plus, it's ironic because God probably wouldn't want you to call another human being your God. And probably his thoughts about her are not the purest thoughts. I'm just going to leave that one at that. B, the speaker's obsession with his beloved and his sense of being pursued. Well, yeah, that's ironic because he's obsessed with her, and his obsession with her is caused by her pursuing him, right? Like, so it's like a cycle. C, the deification, that word comes from deity, same thing, of the speaker's beloved and the hellish torment he claims to be experiencing. He turns her into a goddess, yet he's experiencing hell. Irony. D, the willing submission of the speaker to his beloved and the emotional dominion is control, she exacts. Is that ironic? Yes, because did she just attack him and steal his heart without him offering it?
Like both of them are in.
Right. He's just sort of like, oh, I can't, like, she's stuck in my mind. I can't do anything about it. It's like when you get that song stuck in your head and you hate that you're singing the shark song, right? I'm not going to do it because you know what's going to happen. Y'all are going to be cursing me later today. Yeah. You know how you like run across it and then all of a sudden you're just doing something and you're humming it and you're like, oh, stop doing that. Yeah. So he's like, well, I gave it up. I gave up my love to her and now she's got control of me. I kind of am to blame for that. So the best answer is the title of the poem and the alleged actions. Well, she did steal his heart, his attention, his mind. Yeah. So that's not ironic. Number 11, which of the following is not characteristic of the poet's style? What do we mean when we say the poet's style? Like whether he's got a beanie?
Like the way like his writing.
Right, like patterns, repetition, like what is it that this poet tends to do? So which thing is the poet not doing regularly in the poem? The use of central conceit to develop the poem's theme. A conceit is a type of specialized metaphor. The metaphor here is comparing his lover to a thief. So that exists. Irregular lines of predominantly iambic rhythm. Now we already know about iambic rhythm because of our study of the sonnets. So does the poem have it? Yes. Thou robb'st my days of business and delights. Are the lines of equal length? You could just tell by looking that they're not, right? Of sleep thou robb'st my nights is way shorter than the first line. So then we would say that it has irregular lines and it's iambic in nature. So it says it's not characteristic, so I'm eliminating that. If it's there, I have to eliminate it, right? Yeah, those in the except ones, there's going to be a lot of questions like that. So we have to, that's when you go into elimination mode. Yeah. C, rhetorical questions. Yeah, there's like a bunch of rhetorical questions. It's almost like a Hamlet soliloquy over here, right? What will you do? Are you going to rob me? Are you going to torture me? Right? There's rhetorical questions in there. Oop. D, highly imagistic descriptions of suffering. Well, he does talk about suffering, but it's not imagistic. Imagistic would be having to do with like making images. It's the same as imagery. Does he describe like painful rashes and sores that he's getting or anything that's like bringing up images? No, he says he's suffering, but we don't get super vivid images of that suffering. So that's not characteristic. Do we have religious diction? Yeah, he talks about God, so the right answer is D. Vocabulary, right? The tone of the poem. Tone, you can always think about your mom calling your name. Whenever we're talking about tone, it's like, how is their voice going to sound? If he's reading this, does he sound nostalgic? Nostalgic means to think like longingly of the past. No. Does he sound exasperated? Yeah. He sounds exasperated because he's like, I just can't get past this. Like everything I do, I think of her. Reverential means to be respectful. Does he seem respectful in his tone? No. Vindictive, does he want to hurt her? No. Defiant? No. The best answer is exasperated. So I always tell people when you're thinking about tone, think about the different ways your mom can say your name. Right? Like, can your mom say your name that you know you're in trouble? Can your mom say your name in a way so that you know she wants something from you? She wants you to do something for her? Same way with tone in a poem, but nobody's listening anymore. Okay. So go to the first page, the front. Figure out your percentage. You want to put the number correct over 12 because there were 12 questions. You can make that fraction. Divide the bottom into the top. You're going to get a decimal. Easy math time. I don't do mental math like that. I just use Groovy Grader.